When you start discussing firearms, it can quickly become overwhelming for a new hunter. Just know that it's a topic you'll continue to learn about for many years. You need to know that every state in the U.S. offers a firearm safety course, and most states require you to have successfully passed their official course before you can purchase a hunting license. It's imperative that you know how to safely handle a firearm before you start hunting. Check out the link below to a map that will connect you to the official firearm safety course in your state. These courses will cover details on many types of firearms and how to handle them safely. Let's take a look at a few shotguns that are commonly used for upland bird hunting. First, I'd like to clarify that a shotgun is the type of firearm most often used to hunt upland birds. A shotgun fires many small pieces of material or shot pellets in an ever-widening pattern out from its barrel. When someone talks about a shotgun, they'll often reference its gauge. Gauge is referring to the inner diameter of its barrel, and this corresponds to the size of ammunition called a shot shell that can be safely loaded into it and fired from the shotgun. Since the gauge of a shotgun is based on the size of ammunition loaded into it, let's take a look at the shot shell, or simply shells as they're often referred to by hunters. It's important to understand that you must only load a shot shell that matches the gauge of the gun you're using. You never want to accidentally slip a smaller gauge shell into a larger gauge shotgun, as this can be very dangerous. The primary components of a shot shell are the primer, which is the part struck by the gun's firing pin, the case, and then all the interior components, including gunpowder, the pellets, and a wad which holds those pellets and separates them from the gunpowder. In addition to gauge, there are other considerations when purchasing shot shells. This includes the size of the pellets and the material out of which they're made. The material is generally lead or a non-toxic material like steel, bismuth, or tungsten. And the size of the pellets needed will vary by your shooting situation and type of birds you're going to hunt. There's a wide range of shot shell sizes, but the most common gauges for upland hunting are the 12 gauge on the larger size, scaling down to 16, 20, and 28 gauge. While there are gauges of other sizes, these are four of the most common for upland bird hunting. The thing to remember is that generally speaking, as gauges get larger in diameter, their number gets smaller. As you can see, the 12 gauge is much larger than a 28 gauge shell. The larger the shot shell, the greater the amount of shot that will be delivered to your target. And while that sounds great, you need to keep in mind that a larger gauge shotgun will have a greater recoil, which is the kick you'll feel from the gun when squeezing the trigger. While there are many different components, big and small, to a shotgun, there are three primary parts you should understand. First, we have the stock, which is the part you hold against your shoulder. It also provides the main support for the rest of the firearm. The barrel, which is the metal tube that the shot travels through after the trigger is squeezed. And finally, we have the action, which holds and fires the shot shell. All shotguns used for upland hunting have these three parts. The stock is fairly standard in its design. The barrel is also a fairly standard component. It's a tube made of steel, with the primary consideration being whether there is one or two barrels. The one part which has a wide variety of configurations is the action. Again, the action is made up of the moving parts of your firearm that are involved with the loading and firing of your shot shell, as well as the ejecting of spent shells and reloading of fresh ones. The break action is one of the oldest configurations of modern shotguns, and it's popular with upland bird hunters. As the name suggests, you break or open the firearm by moving a small lever that pivots the barrel to an open position, and this exposes the chamber for manually loading and unloading the firearm. There are both one and two barrel configurations, and when there are two barrels, they can either be side by side or one will be on top of the other. These are quite simply referred to as side-by-sides or over-under shotguns. A squeeze of the trigger will fire the shell in one barrel, and a second pull will fire the shell in the other barrel. The hunter is then required to break the action and reload manually. With a pump-action shotgun, the hunter loads shells into a magazine adjacent to the barrel and then moves the fore end of the shotgun, which will both eject a spent shot shell and load a new shell into the chamber. The pump-action shotgun is usually the most affordable firearm, and for this reason is popular with new hunters. The semi-automatic, or semi-autos as they're often called, also have a magazine along the barrel like the pump, but unlike the pump action, this one will automatically eject and load a new shot shell when the trigger is squeezed. It does this by using the energy or gases created during the firing of the gun. One reason some hunters prefer semi-autos is that they generally have a reduced recoil, but they are often more expensive than a pump shotgun. There are other types of shotgun actions, but these are 3 of the most common used for upland bird hunting. One other part of the shotgun which requires consideration is the choke of the barrel. This is the amount of narrowing or constriction of the barrel at the muzzle, and it will dictate how the shot string or the 3-dimensional spread of pellets behave once they leave the barrel. On older guns, the choke of the barrel was often set in the factory, so you couldn't change it. However, most modern shotguns have a screw-in choke tube which you can easily change out when your hunting situation requires an adjustment. While there are many different choke sizes, I'm going to share 3 that are the most common. Those are full, modified, and improved cylinder. A full choke has the greatest constriction, and this means the shot string will hold tighter for a longer distance. A modified choke has less constriction, and an improved cylinder opens up even more, resulting in a shot string and pattern on the intended target that is more dispersed. There are several factors to consider in determining which choke you want to use on a hunt. That said, the primary consideration will be the distance you'll be shooting at birds. Generally speaking, in dense cover where you'll be taking closer shots, you want a choke that's more open, like an improved cylinder. And at greater distances, you'll need one that's more restrictive, like a modified or full choke. Now that you know the major components of a shotgun and its ammunition, let's take a look at how they work together. When a hunter is confident in her ability to take a safe shot, she'll click off the safety and squeeze the trigger. At this point, the firing pin will strike the primer of the shell, creating a reaction that results in the shot pellets traveling down the barrel through the choke and out towards your intended target. Remember, new hunters should only handle a firearm once they're fully trained and confident in safely using it.